1 Corinthians chapter 7, verses 25 through 40. Verses 25 through 28. Now concerning virgins I have no commandment of the Lord, yet I give my judgment, as one that hath obtained mercy of the Lord, to be faithful. I suppose, therefore, this is good for the present distress. I say, it is good for a man to be so. Art thou bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loosed. Art thou loosed from a wife? Seek not a wife. But, and if thou marry, thou hast not sinned, and if a virgin marry, she hath not sinned. Nevertheless, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you. Burkitt notes, the next case which our apostle comes to resolve is concerning virgins, whether they, being at their own dispose, should marry or keep themselves single. He tells them first he had no special command whereby the state of virginity was either enjoined or prohibited, but he would faithfully give his advice according to the best of his judgment. And this he doth in two particulars. First, that by reason of the present distress and dangers of persecution which threaten the church, it was most convenient that such as were single should continue so, if it might lawfully be done. Yet secondly, he declares that if they marry, they do not sin. Only they will be exposed to more troubles as the church's troubles do increase. Here note 1, that the apostle pronounces marriage lawful in all persons of both sexes, and not sinful at any time or in any state or condition whatsoever. Note 2, that he signifies to all persons that the troubles of a married life are more than those which attend a single state. Such shall have trouble in the flesh. Marriage plunges men into an excess of worldly cares. It multiplies their business, and usually their wants, and their wants are far hardlier borne than in a single life. Note 3, that besides the ordinary inconveniences of a married life, which all persons are to expect, such as entered the married condition when the church is under persecution, must prepare to meet with more than ordinary troubles. Such, that is, in those times of persecution, shall have trouble, that is, more trouble in the flesh, but I spare you. That is, I forbear to speak any more of the matter, lest I should seem to dissuade you from marriage, which is the ordinance of God, more than is fit, and be thought by any to lay the yoke of celibacy or a single life upon you. I only tell you that when Christians are under persecution and distress, it is much more for their ease and quiet to be single than to have a wife and children to care for in poverty or flight. Verses 29 through 31. But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoiced not, and they that buy as though they possessed not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, for the fashion of this world passeth away. Burkitt notes, as if he had said, let all persons, both married and unmarried, consider that the time of this life is short and passing. It's but a point in time we have to live, and shortly it will not be a pin to choose whether we had wives or not, or children or not. But before the expected fruits or the comforts be ripe, we ourselves be rotten. It is therefore true spiritual wisdom to look upon these things now as they will be shortly, to be very moderate in the enjoyment of them, not to be too much affected when we have them, or too much afflicted when we want them. Observe here 1, the apostle's proposition. The time is short. This is true in all the notions of it. Take it first for the whole duration of this world, from the day of its creation to the hour of its dissolution. Compare it with what succeeds it, eternity, and it is very short, but a moment. Secondly, take time for the whole duration of any one man's life. So 'tis shorter, so short that it's nothing. Thirdly, take time for the special season, either of doing or enjoying good in this life. So 'tis shortest of all. Observe, too, the inference which the apostle draws from his proposition. Therefore let them have wives, be as if they had none, etc. Learn thence that the consideration of the great shortness of time and the uncertainty of human life should keep our hearts in a great deal of moderation towards the best and sweetest of our outward comforts and enjoyments, that we neither love inordinately any mercy when we enjoy it, nor mourn immoderately for any contentment when we come to be deprived of it. They that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoiced not. Observe 3. The advice which the apostle gives to such as have great possessions and revenue in this world. 1. To take heed that though they possess these things, that they not be possessed by them. 2. That they so use them as not to abuse them, nor be abused by them. There is much evil in the world, yet we may and we must use it, and it will be our wisdom to make a good use of this world while we're in it. Otherwise, we neither answer to the end of God in sending us into the world, nor to the design of God in trusting us with the good things of this world. Observe 4. The reason assigned why we should use the world in the aforementioned manner, because the fashion of this world passeth away. Here the apostle compares the things of this world to a scene which is presently changed and vanishes almost as soon as it appears. As fashions in this world alter, so doth the fashion of the world alter every day. There is a world to come, the fashion whereof shall never pass away. But the fashion or scheme of this world passes away continually. This world is like a stage. Persons interchangeably act their parts upon it, but they soon disappear, and the stage itself ere long will be pulled down. The fashion of this world passeth away. Thence learn that this consideration, that all the comforts and conveniences of this life are fading and passing away from us, should be a strong motive and inducement to us not to set our hearts upon them. Verses 32 through 35. But I would have you without carefulness. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he that's married careth for the things that are of the world, how he may please his wife. There is a difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman careth for the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and spirit. But she that is married careth for the things of the world, how she may please her husband. And this I speak for your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you, but for that which is comely, and that which may attend upon the Lord without distraction. Burkitt notes, here our apostle subjoins another reason why a single life is to be preferred before a married life. Namely, because single persons are comparatively more free from cares and distractions, and have commonly more time and leisure to attend upon the Lord and religious duties. For the unmarried man has but one care upon him, namely, how he may serve and please God. But the married man has another care upon him, to wit, how he may oblige and please his wife. In like manner, a married woman is encumbered with household affairs, disturbed with domestic affairs, and concerned in lawful things to please her husband, and consequently has neither so much time nor freedom for holy exercise. But the virgin that has no family to care for, no husband to seek to please, has more leisure to attend upon God in his holy duties and religious exercises. Therefore he advises them to choose that state of life in which they may attend upon the Lord without distraction. Learn hence, 1, that a married condition is certainly and necessarily attended with many diversions and distractions from which a single life is free. Learn, 2, that persons in a conjugal relation may and ought to seek the obliging and pleasing one another with their utmost endeavors without violating their duty to Almighty God. Learn, 3, that persons in a single state have great advantage, may they improve them, of serving God above others, in regard of their freedom and domestic cares, troubles and temptations. They have time and leisure for pious performances if the heart be disposed for them. Learn, 4, that it is the duty and ought to be the endeavor of all persons, both married and unmarried, not only to serve God in religious duties, but to attend upon them, in them, as much as may be, without distraction. Distractions are the wandering of the heart, mind, and thoughts from God in religious duties. The nature of God requires that we watch and strive against them. His majesty and greatness, his purity and holiness, his omniscience and all-seeing eye upon us and within us do oblige us to this careful endeavor, and the nature of his worship calls for it, which is a reasonable service and a spiritual service, and the nature of distractions should make us dread them. They divide the heart, they deaden the duty, contract guilt, and provoke displeasure. Lord, help us in all the services we perform unto thee to attend them without distraction. Verses 36 through 38. But if any man think that he behaveth himself uncomely towards his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age, and need so require, let him do what he will, he sinneth not. Let them marry. Nevertheless, he that standeth steadfast in his heart, having no necessity, but hath power over his own will, and hath so decreed in his heart that he will keep his virgin, doeth well. So then, he that giveth her in marriage doeth well, but he that giveth her not in marriage doeth better. Burkitt notes, the next case which our apostle speaks to is concerning virgins who are under the power of others, or not at their own disposal, as parents and guardians. Namely, whether it's best and most advisable for them to dispose of their virgins in marriage or not. The apostle answers that in this case particular respect must be had to particular circumstances, as namely, if she is of marriageable years and beyond them, if she has inclination to and be desirous of marriage, then he advises that she be so disposed. But if a parent be fully satisfied in his own mind that he wrongs not his daughter in declining to marry her, if he has a perfect freedom in his own will, and his will is not contradicted by his daughter's desire, he doth well, yea, he doth best, not to marry her. Best with respect to the distressed condition of the church, best with respect to the troubles of the world, which she will be the more free from, and best with respect to the young woman's liberty and freedom for the service of God and the exercise of religion. Learn hence that although children are to be disposed of in marriage by their parents, yet parents have no such absolute power over their children as to hinder them from marriage or to compel them to it. To do either is very sinful, very unnatural. Verses 39 and 40. The wife is bound by the law as long as her husband liveth. But if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Lord. But she is happier if so abideth, after my judgment. And I think also that I have the Spirit of God. Burkitt notes, the apostle concludes the chapter with a resolution of the case of conscience, namely whether second marriages of widows were lawful or not. He answers they were. After the first husband was dead, the widow might marry again, provided that she married in the Lord. That is, with a believer, not an infidel, with one of the same faith with herself. It's very dangerous and sinful for persons professing the true faith of Christ to match with idolaters. There's a far greater ground of fear that they will pervert you than there is ground of hope that you shall convert them. But though the apostle asserts it lawful for widows to marry again, yet he declares that in regard to the present danger, which the church was in of persecution, they would be more happy in their widowhood, so that the determination of the apostle as to the case of marriage and a single life is concluded thus, that ordinarily, where there is no necessity, a single life is more for a person's peace, more free from distraction in God's service, and therefore best.